Uh-huh. I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you, you won't regret it. Slice a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box. And you cannot compare them at all, so don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean dire, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Yeah. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Woo. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What is going on, everybody? It is week 10 of the NFL season and your fantasy season as well. I got Matt here with me. We've got a fun little episode for you guys today. We're going to preview the game tonight between the Colts and Titans, which should be a good one. Updates on PigSkin Pick'em, talk a couple trades and other things. Then, of course, at the end of the show, we will give you time, in case you have not watched it, to bail out of here. But we will be talking a little bit about the season 2 of Mandalorian. So, Matt, how you doing today?
Pretty good. You know, there's nothing in life that's seen that cute little baby Yoda for 30 minutes a week can't fix. I'm ready for my fix tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I hate that I always have to wait till Friday night to watch it, but I'm excited for it as well. That first episode was really good. I enjoyed episode 2. And we'll get more into it later, but it's definitely something I am looking forward to. So let's just start it right off with the Thursday night football game here. Again, Colts and Titans. So we've got Jonathan Taylor coming in here at 15. So I think you guys must be a little bit higher. So I think I had him drop down into the 20s in my rankings for this one. But Pittman at 39.
I think I had him at 20, so I'll look and see.
Dennis and Ricky must have had him higher. Pittman at 39, and then Trey Burton coming in at 15. The Titans defense has been friendly to offenses this season. Do you think that will help Rivers and the Colts?
I mean, it can't hurt, right? But we've seen Rivers and the Colts play some fantasy-friendly offenses in the past few weeks, and it just hasn't totally translated to – or fantasy-friendly defenses, sorry. It just hasn't totally translated. So for Jonathan Taylor, real quick, you were 16. Dennis was 22. I was 17. Ricky had him at 12. So I think the combination of us having a bunch of different players, we just weren't all aligned on who we thought was going to do well. The biggest problem I have with the Colts is they're using a committee of 3 at least in at least every position. So even if they end up scoring 20 or 25 points, they might use 11 players to do it. And their fantasy volume is king. Yeah. It's hard to bank on touchdowns like last week. Jonathan Taylor didn't get a lot of carries and didn't get a lot of yards, but he did get a touchdown, so it ends up being okay. But the week before, Wilkins got the touchdown, and that was kind of crushing. You don't know if he's going to vulture or Naheem Hines going to get a couple of passing touchdowns. You never know when that's going to happen. Tight ends have been kind of the same way. There's some injuries this week, so you got to feel a little bit better about Trey Burton. I thought Pittman looked good last week, but it's hard to trust anything. And you never know when Tennessee's actually going to figure it out on defense. I keep expecting them to be better than this.
For me, I think A.J. Brown is a must start. I can't imagine you've got that many players better than him. Now, granted, I could be wrong. If you can hit it with your other wide receivers that you'd be thinking about playing over him, but I'm pretty sure I have Brown pretty high in my rankings this week.
Yeah, we had him
coming in. We haven't coming into 8 at consensus. So I mean, we're all pretty high on him. So he's a must start for me. He's been phenomenal since coming back and being fully healthy. I'm with you. Like everybody knows, I think I've been the biggest Taylor supporter since the offseason here on this podcast out of all of us. And He was definitely getting more run last week than Wilkins or Hines was, but then he fumbled the ball, and that's really what kind of cost him the job. I mean, if Frank Reich even came out and admitted it, they pretty much just put him on the bench. It's like, I meant to get him more carries at that point, but we just couldn't get to him, and that's just, I get in a way because it's an NFL coach being an NFL coach, but come on, man. Yeah, if he's your best wide receiver, he's in your lineup. He should have a good game tonight. I'm not expecting him to put up 30 points, but
I had him wide receiver 5 this week.
Yeah, I mean, Indy's defense is good, but they're good because they're good at stopping the run and they're good in their linebacker core. Their secondary is not overall great. And Tannehill can extend the plays a little bit. I don't know if I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think because they're going to be able to stop Henry for the most part, they're going to have to lean on the pass, which is why I ranked A.J. Brown as high as I did.
It's really strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness tonight because the Colts have a good defense but not much offense, and Tennessee's had a good offense but their defense has been suspect, so it should be exciting. But your comments about Frank Reich make me wonder how long it's going to be until we get one of those Game of Thrones creator memes where it says, we meant to get Jonathan Taylor more carries, but we sort of forgot he existed after he fumbled.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who think that tonight's going to be his breakout game. Now, I mean, I would love it because as much as I wanted to retire on Monday, I guess I technically still have a chance in a couple of leagues that have Taylor, and so I'm hoping that he can put it together for this second half run here, but I don't know. I feel like this season's just going to be a wash for him.
Maybe here's a good question for you. I was trying to debate in my work league where I really have to win to keep staying in the playoffs. My 3 running back options are Antonio Gibson, Mike Davis, and Jonathan Taylor, and currently I have Gibson and Davis in.
I'd probably stick with that. I think I have Taylor over Gibson, but I know I have Davis, I think, in my top 5 this week. I'm high on Davis.
Knowing that CMC is pretty much out. I mean,
which we'll talk about here in a minute. But let me see. I'll actually just pull up my rankings since it's a nice, relaxed episode. No need to really do anything here. Yeah, I do have Taylor above Gibson, I think. Where the hell is Gibson? Maybe
I have Gibson and Davis both.
No, I don't.
Taylor, I have not by a ton.
I have Gibson ahead of Taylor. I realized. So I have, for me this week, I have Mike Davis coming in at 8, Gibson at 13, and Taylor at 16. So,
it's just if this ends up being Taylor's breakout, I might punch a wall.
Oh, I know.
And played him for so many weeks and had him not do.
But it's one of those things where, we talk about it on like Fridays or Mondays when we all talk about how a player is probably not going to do that good. And then they end up going off. And then you always hear those people like, I left them on my bench. I'm like, but everything told you to leave them on your bench. You can't go back with that, the hindsight, and be like, oh, I knew I should have started him. Everything right now is pointing to Jonathan Taylor needs to be on your bench because even though we all know he's a talented running back, it doesn't seem like Frank Reich knows he's a talented running back, and he's going to keep playing Jordan Wilkins. And the worst part about it is, too, as you go back and look at it, Jordan Wilkins wasn't even good last week. He's had one good game, and that is it. And Nyheim Hines is, yes, he's a great wide receiver. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. Doesn't mean that he should be getting carries, 20 carries a game. It should be Jonathan Taylor. So Jonnu Smith, I mean, So here's my issue with Jonnu Smith, because I was looking more and more into this the past couple of days because I was kind of predicting Jonnu Smith to have a breakout year this year, and he was really good early on, but then, and I don't remember his name if I'm just going to be honest with you guys, when the right tackle for the Titans went out, they have seemed to kept Jonnu Smith in blocking more, which is what has limited him in the passing game, which I did not notice until I actually went back and started rewatching some of the games here lately. So I don't
he only had
know.
2 targets on Sunday. He happened to catch them both and get a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I talked about that. It was a little, and we've seen that happen with Mark Ingram, where he had, Mark Andrews, where he wasn't getting a ton of targets. He was just catching them all, and half of them happened to be touchdowns. That's another one so for those of you out there that have Jonathan Taylor and Mark Andrews, this is your week to go ahead and play them because I pulled them both from this lineup because I was worried about, I replaced Andrews with Hawkinson and I replaced Jonathan Taylor with Mike Davis this morning, and that probably means that I've made a catastrophic mistake.
Yeah, so we have Jonnu Smith coming in at 11, though, in our rank. So we all still have him as a tight end 1 because, again, I think that he can – when they get into the red zone, he is one of the players they look for. And I don't think Derrick Henry is going to have a big game tonight, which usually means it's Jonnu Smith's time. Then again, A.J. Brown, like I said, has been coming on huge this year. But the fact that they are leaving Jonnu Smith in, and not just on run plays, too, they're leaving him in on pass blocking because of how bad their backup right tackle has been. That's why Jonnu Smith has been limited. He's only been getting at most sometimes 5 targets, which is not what we saw earlier in the year. Earlier in the year, he was behind A.J. Brown getting 8 to 10 targets a game. So it's kind of – he's not someone that I want to bench because he has that – but we saw it earlier in the year. He's been used in the running game even. So he's a guy they'll use all over the place, but he's one of those guys where we can't expect him to put up those, I'd say, consistent 10 to 15 points every week now. He's become kind of touchdown dependent, like a lot of other tight ends have become, just because they're using him more in the blocking scheme. Nothing to do with his talent. He's still a very talented tight end, but because they're using him more as a blocker.
Yeah, but honestly, given the state of the position, and especially this week with no Travis Kelce and Kittle's gone for the year, it's been a real toss-up. I like Andrews, but he's been kind of in the same state. I think what hurt this offense a lot last week is there wasn't a whole lot of pass attempts or pass yardage to go around. That definitely hurt Corey Davis, who we had seen have a better year. Prior to last week, Davis had put up at least 11 PPR points in every game he'd played, and last week he took a bagel. He only got targeted twice. Brown was really the only receiver that did anything.
Yeah, and the Titans' offense hasn't looked really good, really, since they came back against the Steelers. They've really everybody was kind of getting the ball and doing good beforehand, and then it seemed like they were out for the 2 weeks, come back against the Steelers, and just it's been the A.J. Brown show, and that's it. Even Henry has not looked quite as good. But just to give you an idea of verbal Ken, I have him projected for 8.8 points tonight. So I honestly literally have him getting a touchdown, like a 20-yard touchdown is pretty much what I have for him tonight. Right around that. Like that, I'm expecting him to score, but I am honestly not expecting much out of Jonnu Smith. On the rest of the Titans here, Tannehill coming in at 12, Henry 4, and A.J. Brown 8, with Jonnu Smith coming in at 11. Matt, you just mentioned that Davis has been solid this year up to week 9, but now we have him at wide receiver 50. Any confidence as him as a flex-worthy start against the Colts?
Yeah, I mean, the Colts, I figure they're going to try to rotate coverage to A.J. Brown. Whether that's successful in actually taking him away, probably not totally, but I think that's what has benefited Corey Davis throughout this season. Adam Humphries is out tonight. Khalif Raymond's really kind of a dart throw, Hail Mary guy. So Corey Davis should be second or third in terms of targets. They don't really have a huge pass catching back. I think last week was probably more of an aberration, but then again, it just kind of tells you about how we have never fully trusted Corey Davis, because even with everything he's done, one game that kind of reaffirms your preconceived notions, and we dropped him so far that he dropped to 50 in a week where you have Atlanta and Kansas City and Dallas all out. So that's a ton of good receivers who've come out plus injuries. He's probably a guy that you end up starting as a flex, and you don't feel good that he's in your lineup until you see your 12 points tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, again, I'm someone who's never been high on Davis, so it's kind of hard for me to trust him. I do have him. Where did I put him? I was trying to find him in my rankings here, and what I have, because I actually think he might have a good game tonight, just because of what you were saying with them shifting the coverage to A.J. Brown. Where are you? I hate trying to read quickly. This makes for great podcasting. Good God, where did I put Corey Davis? I guess I could just search him, huh? That probably would have been an easy thing to do.
Oh, you're trying to look up your personal rank?
Yeah, I know. Oh, wait. Did I seriously not rank him?
You might have been one of the reasons he dropped.
Yeah, that's probably why.
I didn't think I had him that low.
Yep, it is why I didn't. Golly, I was in such a hurry trying to do my rankings last night. All right, well, Hang on, I'll pull it up a different way because I do all mine separately on a different sheet. So on my other sheet, golly, I must have deleted because like I didn't even rank Devontae Adams yesterday. Like I got so messed up on trying to move my rankings over until Stoop said something to me. So I have Corey Davis in my rankings that apparently I did not move correctly at 36. I think he's going to get 12 points tonight. So that's a fairly decent day for a flex. So yes, I would agree that I have him at flex. So that's why he's down there as low as he is. He should have definitely been higher. Where did you have him?
I had him at 51, it looks like.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't much higher than where he came in at. So yeah, that's in my bad. I need to start doing all that more often.
Part of me wonders too if they don't end up a little bit like last week. I think Tannehill only had like 12 or 13 pass completions last week, and 8 of them were to AJ Brown. There wasn't a whole lot of action going around passing wise as they played a little bit of a better defense in Chicago, and the Colts obviously a little bit. I'm more with you. I don't think this is going to end up being a blowout. Now we say that all the time, and like Monday night ended up being 30-27 when I thought it was going to be 10-3.
Yeah,
but this one feels more like a game that's 20-17 or 17-14 something, because it's hard for me to imagine the Colts exploding on offense. Either they are missing a few pieces too, and they just haven't looked all that good. I could see this being kind of a slog on a Thursday night game.
Yeah, unless Jonathan Taylor has his breakout game, which I'm obviously hoping for. But what are your thoughts? Who are you picking to win this game tonight?
I took the Titans.
As I think I'm going to. I have not made my pick yet, and I'm of course that means I'm going to eventually forget and not put it in like I did last time. But I can't. I meant to do it this morning, and now I see this is one thing I hate. I like doing it Thursday mornings because like I just go in and go with like my gut feel on who I think is going to win the game instead of going in and over analyzing it, which is what I'm about to go do, and that's what I think has cost me my lead somewhat in some of these groups. So why don't you update us on where we sit with our Pigskin Pick'ems?
Yeah, so Pigskin Pick'em in our podcast network, you're still sitting in the lead. Sitting there with 86. It wasn't as great a week last week, but you're still up there. I managed to get one better than my wife last week to move into a tie with her. So we're both in second place with 81, right behind you. In our Discord chat pick group, Rob still leads the way with 92. He's doing great. But Justin right on his heels with 91. So it's going to be a tight race. We're halfway mark, so still anyone's ball game.
Yeah. So how close is everybody else in the Drive-In Podcast Network to catching up to me, I guess?
So me and Lindsay are the next closest, tied at 81, so we're 5 back. And then Dennis actually moved ahead of Jacob this week. He was sitting at 78, so he's 8 back. Then Jacob is at 76 and Ricky's at 72.
Gotcha. All right. I just made my pick, so hopefully that works out for me. Let's talk about some of the news here really quick. So CMC is trending towards out. So get ready to fire up Mike Davis, as Matt was mentioning earlier with his lineup. Although some good news I saw this morning on that. He did get a second opinion on his shoulder. It looks like he'll be good to go, or likely be good to go by next week. So hopefully just 1 week here with CMC. So that is good news for him. Big Ben is on the COVID list, but the Steelers are planning for him to be cleared. So that's one of those things, kind of like Stafford last week. You got to watch. I think he can be cleared on Saturday, though. So that gives you a little bit more time than finding out at like 11 o'clock in the morning Sunday that, hey, Stafford's good to go. You can fire him up.
Well, I was just encouraged because last week it seemed like Detroit was doing everything possible to prepare for Chase Daniel, which is what made me think Stafford's not coming off. Whereas Pittsburgh's the other way. They said, we're doing all our preparation planning for Ben to be our quarterback. I think that gives you a little bit better confidence when that came out today. When we were doing our rankings yesterday, I thought he would still potentially be out. So I had Dobbs in there, but I think now you can go back to feeling pretty good if you need Ben to play because it's a thin quarterback week that he should be there.
Yeah, I mean I think they kind of had to prepare for Daniels because of, like we say, they literally had to wait till almost 11 o'clock in the morning to be able to say, hey, Stafford's good to go. And so you maybe have to kind of prepare your backup just in case that final test comes back positive.
The one thing I would say that does give me pause about Ben is we saw it looked like Stafford was a little rusty after having been out of practice and communication stuff. Hopefully Ben gets cleared early Saturday and maybe gets to go through the walkthrough. But that's always a concern when you've kind of been shelved for a week.
I mean, the one thing I will say is they do get the Bengals, so I wouldn't be too worried. I mean, he probably will get some time. I think it'll be a good game. Bengals have definitely been a good offense, but I feel like with as bad as their defense is, they might be able to give Big Ben a little bit to get into that, especially because
the other thing we don't know about Ben is he injured both of his knees last week.
Yeah.
And we're not really getting those kind of practice reports because he's not eligible for practice.
Yeah.
So you don't know, I know running isn't his number one thing, but being able to be mobile and being able to sustain a beating is a big thing for him. And, you and I are aware once you crest to a certain age in your 30s, a knee injury is a little more lingering than it is.
My knees bother me getting up out of this chair after the podcast every day, sitting here for like an hour. So I can't imagine what it's like having 300-pound men knock the crap out of you and then try and get him walk around. Nick Chubb, if you have him, it looks like it's going to be good news for you guys. He can come off the IR and play the Texans. The news today was that he was actually playing without his knee brace. So that is good. There was a lot of talk that he might have to wear the brace, which I think would kind of limit his lateral quickness, but he did get a practice in today without it. Now, I haven't heard if he felt good or bad afterwards about that yet, but that came out earlier this afternoon. So it looks like that should be good. He should be good to go, which is great news if you've been, struggling without him like I have for like the past 6 weeks. So
it's
I'm ready for him to be back.
Zeke's on a bye. Damian Harris has a chest injury. You're like, please, Nick.
Well, that's the worst part about it. So in that league right there, I'll just jump right into it. So I decided to make some moves. I'm going to be honest, I don't feel great about. I was hurting this morning. It took a lot for me to make these moves, but I'm curious to get your opinion. I know a lot of people that I talked to thought it was a great move, and I get part of it, but I feel like sometimes I fall too in love with draft picks because I pay so close attention to college football, and I'm always watching these guys, and for me, I'm always like, I really feel like these guys are going to be good in the NFL, but as we always learn every year, not all these guys are going to pan out, and you should always, in my opinion, what I tell people is stick with the players who've proven it in the NFL. So I have a team, my main dynasty league, which I have built through trades and drafting. I know I've talked about it on here before. I've just gotten killed with injuries this year. I've got Barkley, Beckham, Chubb, and Kittle right now, all on my injured reserve. I've been relying really on Zeke, who is obviously, we all know, not been great so far this past, at least since Dak went out. And then it was Adams and Hopkins were my main guys at wide receivers. They were carrying me to wins for the most part. Then I got some interest in Hopkins for some teams above me. I'm sitting at 6 right now. I'm 4th in points, but 6th in the rankings. And one of the teams above me was like, hey, what's it going to take to get Hopkins? I want to make a run. Same guy who won it last year. He's sitting 2 spots in. He's sitting at 4, but only 1 win better than me. He's like, I really want to make a run for trying repeats. We've never had a repeat champion in this league. I was like, all right, well, let's see if we can make something work. And so I traded him for Kenny Golladay, Jalen Reagor, and a 2022 first because he did not have, at least at the time, which sucks because had I just waited 2 hours, he ended up getting a 2021 first, but he didn't have a 2021 first at the time that we made the trade, so I got his 2022 first. That ended up turning into multiple other trades for me, but just your overall thoughts on that, on giving up Hopkins for Kenny Golladay, Jalen Reagor, and a 2022 first.
I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, see, that's kind of where I was too. A lot of people said that they liked it, but the more and more I thought
Kenny
about
Golladay has had some good games, but he can't stay on the field now, and we don't know what's happening with Detroit. There's good possibility Stafford's not back. They could have a coaching change. They could have a philosophy change. And I like Jalen Reagor as a prospect, but there again, not enough. And I'm surprised you would even be enticed by a 2022 first
Well,
when you said
here's
when you
why.
said it's not that good of a class.
It's not, but what I did do, and I only reason I took that trade, it was that or he offered me two different versions of the trade. He was like, you can have my 2022 first, or I can send you a 2020 first second and a 2022 second. Send you 2 seconds because I did want a 2021 pick. Patricia will be gone at the end of the year, so and thank you. I still do not love it, but I have heard a lot of people tell me that they like the deal just based on the I guess depth that I got back for it. Because when Kenny Galladay's healthy, he's a wide receiver one. The problem is, like you just said, he's not been healthy this year. He's really been beat up, and so I my biggest fear too with Galladay, which I talked about because I work with the guy I made the trade with, and we were talking about it a little bit when I got back in today, was Kenny Galladay's a free agent at the end of this year, so there's no guarantee he's even back with Detroit. And if he goes to a team where he doesn't get the volume he gets in Detroit, then I lost a guy who has a shot at being a wide receiver one. Now, I do like Rager. Rager was my wide receiver two coming out this year, and I honestly do think he's going to have a good second half, back healthy. They just coming out of the bye week. They got him back last season. He's had 2 good games. I do think he becomes more part of the offense moving forward. So I like Rager, but I think I don't think it's unfair to say, and I don't think neither one's Hopkins. Hopkins is Hopkins. He's a top 5 at worst wide receiver. I mean, it's not easy to give up on that, but as you mentioned, because you're right, I am not big on the 2022 class. So I took that 2022 first when I thought I was going to get it and started talking to some other people. As soon as I thought, all right, if I take this Hopkins deal, I need to make some other moves. I flipped my 2022 first and a 2022 second to someone who I sold will be a better running back class, which it will be. There's going to be more high-end running backs of that than this year. This year, there's 2 guys. In 2022, there's 3 to 4. I took those 2 picks and sold them for a 2021 first and a 2021 second. So we pretty much just swapped picks in drafts. He's getting my 2022 picks. I'm taking his 2021. Now, one of them is my 2021 that I traded to him earlier this year, which looks like it's now going to be somewhere in the 1 to 6 range, which is not bad. It means I'm going to now get, hopefully, another high-end wide receiver. So that now puts me with 2 2021 first and 3 2021 seconds, with me getting that second from him. So part of me kind of likes it more in doing that because I feel like I'm building my depth a little bit more. Again, I like my wide receiver group. I mean, you know how high I am on Deontay. So if Deontay can turn into something, then I feel like, okay, all of a sudden I have a really good wide receiver core. I get Barkley back next year. My running backs are good now. It sucks because I don't have those like Adams and Hopkins. Like Adam, when you look at my lineup every week, fully healthy, it was Saquon, Chubb, Adams, Hopkins, Kittle, and then either Zeke. Well, it's been Zeke because OBJ's been trash the past year and a half, if we're all being honest. And Zeke, that's a terrifying fucking lineup. And I was like, I guess I could have just waited till next year and seen what happens, but I almost kind of feel like I've been trying to trade Zeke most of the year anyways because I was trying to get out on him as well, and that has not worked out. So I don't know. I just felt like I needed to make a move, and that's maybe another reason why I don't like the moves as much because I'm like, you know what? I probably didn't, but it was one of those things where I was like, I got to do something. I did add one more piece on there, which is probably going to end up screwing me because one thing we forgot to talk about in the news, Mixon has yet to practice all week. So it looks like Mixon may not play this week. I took Giovanni Bernard and Cole Beasley and flipped them to the Mixon owner for T. Higgins. That was the final move that I made. So I came away losing Hopkins. Look, I lost Hopkins, Beasley, and Bernard and got back Galladay, Jalen Rager, T. Higgins, and I gave away first and a second to get back Galladay, Rager, Higgins, a first and a second this year. So we'll see. I like I said, I'll be honest. I did it and I did not feel great about it because I also love Hopkins, but I don't know. I just feel like having a little bit more depth because the one thing we did agree on this year was we're going to expand the flex because right now we only have 1 flex. We're moving to 2 flex. So that was another part of my thinking was, okay, when Galladay's healthy and if Rager can turn into what I think he can be, that also gives me enough flex spot I can roll with as well because my other wide receivers are Darnell Mooney and, well, now it's going to be T. Higgins because I gave up Cole Beasley. And I have Paris Campbell, who is sitting on my IR as well right now, and Antonio Gandy Golden. Hakeem Butler, still holding out, buddy. I'm not going to drop you. Love you, Hakeem.
That'll solve your tight end problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have Jonnu Smith. I have Jonnu and Kittle. So, I mean, it's just that.
It's Butler, though.
And Harrison Bryant. I went ahead and grabbed him because he was actually sitting on our free agent wire. And, of course, I got Dwayne Haskins as well, my third QB. So, yeah, I don't love it. And I feel like I'm always someone who says I love to compete every single year. And I felt like when I made that move, I pretty much just took myself out of the running because the guy who got him now builds his wide receiver core as Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins. So I feel like because I lost to him in the championship last year by 6 points. So I was like, even if I find a way to weasel my way into a championship, if I end up against him or the team that's in first place right now, I'm done for. So, although I don't know. Here, I'll read you his team, and then I promise we'll start talking about Mandalorian because I don't think he has an overall great team. But you tell me if I'm wrong. His biggest thing is he's got Kyler Murray, who's been just phenomenal this year, right? But his running backs, Kareem Hunt, Wayne Gallman, CEH, Jerick McKinnon, and DeAndre Swift. It's not great. Yeah, like it's not great. He's 8-1, by the way, and he's only ahead of me in points by 2 points. Wide receivers, N'Keal Harry, Jerry Jeudy, Jacoby Myers, Tim Patrick, Mike Evans. Again, not great. You're not feeling not a single wide receiver one in there at all. And then tight ends, Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry. So he doesn't have like his best players. I think he's got two good young wide receivers in Mims and Pittman that I think will be good in the future. But outside that, they're not helping him this year. So like that's the number one team. So like part of me looks at him like, okay, like it's really not that good. There's a couple other teams that like one of the teams I think is probably going to end up winning it. He's got Cooks, Dalvin Cook, Jacobs, and Montgomery. So I like his running back core a lot. Like he's got good. And then he's got if Chart continues to play, he did with Luton, he's got Chart, Claypool, Cooper, and Marvin Jones. So like I feel like he's got a better shot at doing that. And then the guy that I traded to Hopkins to now has what is it? So he's got Aaron Jones, and he just traded Todd Gurley. So now it's going to be Aaron Jones and either David Johnson or Chase Edmonds because he's got Chase Edmonds as well whenever Drake comes back. So obviously Aaron Jones, phenomenal, but not scared of that other running back. I mean, they're better than
David Johnson not even tracking to play this week.
Yeah, well, I meant like if going toward the championship, like if we meet up, but this is where he's going to get you. Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Tyler Lockett. Like that's where he gets you because his wide receivers are now phenomenal. And then he has Noah Fant and Tyler Higbee. So, you know, when Fant's healthy, he's got a great tight end. Higbee, I don't trust. So, I mean, that's where, like I see, it's not, nobody's really running away with it. And that's where I was like, then you listen to my team of like, especially me getting Chubb back. That's why I feel like more and more I should have just held because Chubb, Zeke, and then Adams, Hopkins, I feel like matches up with any of those lineups I just mentioned right there. And then I have Allen at QB, which again, if he continues to so, but you know, it is what it is. I feel like getting all those picks and Higgins back as well with that all kind of leads toward making my team a little bit younger because Hopkins is 28, although he's a possession receiver, so I think he could easily play for another 4 years as a top wide receiver. But yeah, that's what I spent most of my day doing right there is working those trades and everything. And I guess we'll see we'll see how it goes. Not happy to get rid of Hopkins. He's one of the reasons I won a championship. So it's hard for me to let those things go. But you know, obviously you got to divorce yourself from the fan mindset, right? You got to. Just because you like a player doesn't mean you should hold on to him. I tried to move Barkley earlier this year, but nobody would take him. They felt I was overpaying or over asking because I wanted 2 firsts for the dude, which I don't think is a ridiculous ask for, in my opinion, one of the best running backs in the league. But okay, here we go. We're giving everybody a couple minutes here. I saw a bunch of people just jumped in a couple minutes ago. We're about to start talking about Mandalorian season 2. So if you have not watched it and you don't want anything to be spoiled, thank you for tuning in. Me, Matt, and Dennis will be back tomorrow. We'll recap Thursday Night Football and talk all of the Week 10 NFL slate on Sunday and Monday. If you do want to talk Mandalorian, you're more than welcome to pop into the chat, say anything you want, because we're going to start talking about that now. All right, so episode 1, The Marshal. Honestly was one of my favorite episodes so far. Again, we talked about this a little off air, I think last on Tuesday, because I'm a huge Timothy Oliphant fan. I think that dude is an amazing actor. He's like such a good like comedy right at the right parts and everything. So for me, I loved it. He was my favorite character on that. I do hope, they said, I hope we get to run into each other again. I hope they do get to run into each other again. Kind of what was your thoughts on him and the overall premiere episode?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good, picking up where they left off. I would guess we will see him again at some point. It reminds me a little bit of like when they introduced Cara Dune in the middle of last year. You knew you would probably see her again, and we're going to see some of these other people as we go through the season. They kind of had already released the information that we were going to see some of these characters. We were going to see Asana Toka at some point, because the guy that co-created Mandalorian with Jon Favreau is Dave Filoni, who did Clone Wars. So I think we're going to see some tie-ins. But I thought what they did was good. It was fun to start with that opening sequence where he goes to get information. Probably the moment that captured everyone from the trailer was LBY looking at Mando hit something and reaching out and closing his thing. So you get to see that in the first few minutes. You don't have to wait. That was pretty good. But then a lot of the episode was kind of interesting. Their back and forth was really interesting. Their partnership was interesting. How they beat the giant worm from Tremors.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Yeah, and I thought I told a friend I thought they did a really good job. You wait now because we know LBY, the child, has that ability to have force ability. There was a lot of points in time in that story when they were dealing with the big worm that I thought he was going to play a part and he was going to do something. And I thought they've been really restrained with not having him be like the magical bailout every time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool to see Mando thinking it through and when he gets himself out and, and gets on the road. I just thought it was really fun. It was really solid. It was nice to be back in the world. It had great feel like what we saw in season 1.
Yeah. Like I said, I liked everything about it. I liked the whole action sequence there with the crate dragon. It was not at all what I was expecting for them to go do that. I like the fact that they kind of teamed up with the Tusken Raiders. I think a little bit of I like that he can communicate, it seems, with everybody, which is not something you see all that often in the Star Wars universe. So I do like that he kind of communicates with the Tusken Raiders. I can't remember if this is in episode 1 or 2, so forgive me if I get this wrong. I want to say, never mind, it's in 2, so we'll save that for the second one. But yeah, I thought it was great, the whole battle sequence with the crate dragon. I love the way that they ended up defeating it. It was not quite as the way you thought it was going to be as well, and all that. So I like that. What was kind of your takeaway from the big action sequence there?
Yeah, it was fun how they kind of brought the sides together too. In that sense, it reminded me you often see in a different space show series, Star Trek. A lot of times is about kind of bringing societies and helping them find peace and a way to live together. And it was interesting to see that kind of incorporated here, where they're not going to be BFFs, but that town and then the Tusken Raiders kind of finding a mutual understanding and a mutual respect and being able to kind of heal the land. It's been that's also an old Western trope too, and that's kind of in a lot of ways the Mandalorian has been a little bit like a space Western, with him being that kind of gunslinger that goes back and forth. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was the title of one of the episodes was, so, I thought that action sequence worked pretty well. It was kind of fun. I was laughing every time they had to like take the volunteer to go walk the thing out there. I'm like, how do you get to be that guy?
I don't know. The picking of whatever it is, straws or whatever, and you get kind of screwed on that. Yes, it's like that was the one part that I was not expecting when he takes what is it called? Is it what are they called? I'm gonna look it up. I just had it on the tip of my head. I don't even know what to call it. What is the? I mean, they look like woolly mammoths, but I don't know what they're called.
Let's look. Bantha.
Bantha, there we go. Okay, so yeah, when he takes it out there, and then you think that it's gonna come eat the bantha, and then he starts running, and you're just like, and then all of a sudden it just comes up. I was like, oh god, that's just gotta suck, man. That poor guy. Should I start Jonathan Taylor tonight, or wait and hope two of these guys play? Chubb, Carson, Montgomery. Oof. Chubb, it does look.
Carson.
Chubb does look like he's trending toward playing. I'm going to be honest. I have Taylor over Montgomery. I'd ranked Montgomery as he was going to play. I still have Taylor over him. I don't remember what I did with Carson, though.
I ranked Carson. I thought he was going to play. I
ranked Carson as he was going to play, but I don't remember if I ranked Taylor ahead of him or not. I actually did. I have Taylor 2 spots ahead of Carson. So, who is Seattle go? Oh, but they got the Bills defense. No, wait.
Seattle's playing the Rams.
Rams. I'd probably go Taylor and Chubb. Matt sounds like he's going Chubb Carson. So for sure you're going Chubb tonight, or Chubb. I would go Taylor. I still think he's in line for a good game tonight. I mean, the bad part about that is, in all honesty, if you want to make life easier for yourself, I'd probably go Carson, because if Carson's back, he's going to get at least 70% of the workload. Taylor should get the bulk of the work tonight, but as we've seen, Frank Reich just doesn't like to play him that much. So, I mean, if you want to be able to put your head down on the pillow and sleep well this weekend, knowing you played your best players, you're going to go Chubb and Carson, in my opinion. But I do think Taylor has a good game tonight. I have him ranked over Carson, so I would go Taylor. All right. So back to the Mandalorian. Obviously, the big thing that everybody was talking about, which I'm going to be honest, thank you to all the people who didn't spoil it on Twitter, because usually you have these people come out and spoil it. Everybody just kept talking about, did you see the last 5 seconds of Mandalorian, all that stuff. I did. What I don't know for sure, and this is what I'm curious to ask you, obviously the armor, which I guess we could have brought up earlier, the armor that the Marshal was wearing was Boba Fett's armor. It's Boba Fett's armor. So he got out of the Sarlacc pet, is what you're telling me, from all the way back then. I mean, you have to think.
It seems like it.
Well, so that's the question, though, is that I wonder if, because you brought up the director kind of thing there, what could it be? I don't want to say a fake out, but could it be something where it's just one of the clones? Because as we know, all of the clones look the same, and it was all Jango Fett, who's Boba Fett's father. So it could just be a clone that found a way to get a hold of Boba Fett's armor after the fact, or who knows? We don't know, but I caught that part of it. Kind of, what were your thoughts when you saw that happen, and kind of like, because I didn't even know what to think. I just like, oh shit, Boba Fett's alive. That was my immediate thought.
And I 100% think it's Boba Fett, but they also dropped before the season was released that we would see Boba Fett in this season.
Oh, okay, I did not know
that.
So
I think that kind of answers itself. But I thought it was cool they got the actor who obviously played that part in Attack of the Clones to be in there, because, and I think that is kind of probably what they're saying, that he managed to survive. So think about the other thing that they had said before that, like the giant worm was in a Sarlacc pit. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, they make a comment about that. How would it get into a Sarlacc pit without the Sarlacc eating it? And he said, if something else ate the Sarlacc or killed the Sarlacc.
Oh, interesting. All right. So yeah, it'll be. I would imagine we're going to see more of him at some point. See, I didn't know that. I've seen one trailer so far of Mandalorian. It's the one where it shows I don't remember what her name is in the Star Wars universe, but the actress / I think she was a UFC fighter. Is it Cara?
Oh, Cara Dune. Yeah.
Yeah. So I obviously know she comes back
Gina
at some point. Yeah, there we go. I obviously know she comes back at some point, and he also gets to meet up with the guy who ran the guild in the first season that they kind of worked together. So I knew that part. I saw that part of them coming back into it. But outside of that, I avoided everything. I've got to a point in my life where I hate shit getting spoiled. Maybe that's because effing Shady McCoy ruined Iron Man dying for me. So I try to avoid everything now when it comes to things that I'm really into.
You. He ruined it for a lot.
Oh, I know. Well, I guess he didn't ruin it. I mean, I still cried when it happened. I just knew it was going to happen. But I mean,
there's difference between suspecting it's going to happen and knowing it's.
I kind of felt like it was going to happen just because we are so into those movies and we knew this was likely Robert Downey's last movie. I didn't see a way of them just being like, all right, he's going to retire now. So I felt like they were going to find a way for him to go out the hero. And so when I saw it coming, I knew it was going to happen. And I love Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, but that's not what we're talking about right now. So I mean, go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see where they end up going. Obviously, with just that brief flash, it's kind of fun fan service, but you have to figure it's going to come up. It was nice in that episode too to see Amy Sedaris again, who plays the lady that runs the
little port there in Tatooine.
The port where they're going, but I'm sure his adventures are going to bring him back there.
Yeah, they seem to spend a lot of time on Tatooine for some reason, so they keep going back.
And in The Mandalorian and all of Star Wars, apparently you have your choice of a desert planet or an ice planet. That's about all your choices, apparently.
Yeah. So speaking of the ice planet, that takes us to the second episode there, The Passenger. What were your thoughts on it? Because I know we, again, talked a little off air last week because you do not do the write-ups on these episodes for the network. It's Jacob or Ricky, and you did not necessarily agree with their assessment of the episode.
No, I threw some shade in my Twitter comment. I get people have complained that it didn't advance maybe the overall plot. First of all, the whole thing that they started this show with was kind of these standalone stories. Yeah. So maybe you didn't like this standalone story, but I thought they advanced a lot of interesting things with little baby Yoda. I mean, they had the running thing about him being hungry throughout the episode.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've noticed, they've made him a lot more vocal this year. And some of his, kind of growth of personality. Those are little things that I appreciated. I thought that it was a nice callback when the pilots let him go. It was a nice callback to when he defended and tried to do the right thing during the prison episode. The last, that kind of comes back to him. It wasn't the greatest episode, but I thought it was entertaining, and it had some fun parts. I think people are just wanting them to get to something, to make like big, massive discoveries and stuff. You got to enjoy the journey a little bit.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, I don't think that you can say it didn't necessarily move the plot forward, because it was them on the way to this planet where he's being told there's Mandalorians. So you can't always just be like, oh, get on a ship and now you're at the planet. Like, you have to build some stuff. And I'm with you. Like, you give the whole reason, at least in my opinion, I fell in love with the show was the building of the character and the partnership of Baby Yoda and Mandalorian. That's what's made this show. It's not just Mandalorian, who is a great character. It's Baby Yoda as well. Everybody talks about Baby Yoda. And so I think the continued building of those two is what makes this show interesting. I liked the play on there with having, I don't know if they ever mentioned her name, but the frog lady with her eggs, and the fact that he kept going and eating them and Mando kept stopping him. And again, just the building of those two, the way that those two clearly communicate with each other that nobody else seems to understand is very cool, in my opinion. So I am terrified of spiders, so I thought that whole sequence was kind of cool too. That freaked me out. So again, I like the whole thing with I kept wanting to call them Jedis, whatever, the Resistance or the fighters that showed up in the X-Wings, and you getting to see that they're still kind of thriving right now in the Star Wars universe after the
because this is like
before the New Order.
Jedi.
So
it's before the New Order. This is where they're taking a victory lap, basically.
Exactly. So it's kind of cool to see they're still thriving and they're out there patrolling the Outer Rim. And same thing, the call back there with the prison stuff. Like, I thought all of that was really cool. I did not have an issue with the episode at all. It was not slow to me. Like, what I was going to bring up, I couldn't remember which episode it was in. I thought the beginning part of episode 2 was kind of fun when he's driving the speeder and those people ambush him to get Baby Yoda. And he goes through that whole thing and kind of the when he tells the little Jawa that he can take his jetpack, and then he kills him, and Baby Yoda just kind of shaking his head at him. Like, I thought all of that was great. I didn't have an issue with the episode at all. So I was kind of with you. I was confused by the why they didn't like it.
And so this is where you also have to kind of separate the difference in medium from television to movies. So if you're used to like the Star Wars movies, it's 2 hours and they have a lot to accomplish. So you're seeing a lot of A to B to C to D to, because you have to get it all done there. Whereas long form series where you're hoping to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, you're telling a longer story. You and I were both fans of Game of Thrones. Some of the best Game of Thrones seasons and episodes were the character arc that developed where guys spent 10 episodes basically traveling between a city. You pick up different interactions. And from a plot standpoint, you're saying like the guy walked 30 miles in 10 hours. Well, yeah, but you got to know about them and stuff. And it was almost when they switched course and started going at a breakneck pace that people started missing that. And I think those are the they're trying to take some space in some of these episodes to build character, build relationship, to build your investment in them. I'm sure as a dad, you saw some things, about the way Obi-Wan comes to him that were cute. When there's a spot where where he says he's gonna curl up for the night, where it reminds me of my cat who's made appearances on the show. The way that she like kind of curls into you. I thought those kind of fun things about their relationship and different stuff. And sometimes you have like little light jokes. There was no major revelations. I think people are excited about who we might see or who we might come back to and what we might get to. But sometimes you just got to appreciate the journey.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. Like, bringing up or talking about Baby Yoda here, I guess, and I did see some of this as well. Did you have an issue with him eating some of the eggs? Because I saw some people get upset about that. I didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you, but
I think my favorite meme, I'm gonna pull it up so I don't butcher it, took a screenshot of the episode the way they appear, and it basically says Chapter 10, where Baby Yoda commits genocide. Well, you laugh about it, and that just made me laugh so hard too. First of all, I saw the producer come out and try to justify it, saying, "Hey, those were not like fertilized eggs, so it's not like it was eating actual children. It was, you got to take it with a grain of salt." It didn't. I mean, if you stop and think about a lot of things you see on TV and movies for too long, you might get bummed out about what it's saying about the world or about humanity. I thought it was just kind of a funny little gag and stuff. You do feel, I guess, a little worse about his behavior when the mother there kind of saves his life and is protecting him. But like the best was at the pool when you see him like looking and then he's going to reach in. No. And then that leads to him kind of going up and screwing up and eating the spider egg. But then at the end, you're supposed to see he didn't really learn anything. To me, it made me think about, when we first met Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, he's going around like taking all the food and you always see him eating and stuff. Yeah. I think they're trying to tell you something about the species.
Well, I wonder if because they seem to be so, I don't want to say like in touch with the Force, but we see even with Baby Yoda, we saw it when he saved the Mandalorian. That takes a lot out of him. It's almost like an athlete, right? A prime athlete. They're always eating because they have to continue to feed their bodies and everything with everything they're doing, all their energy they're burning and everything with all their workouts. I wonder if that's kind of what it's like for them. And we also have to remember, like, why he's Baby Yoda, he's also not like a baby, right? Like they've already hinted at he could be like 100 years old already. He's still developing. So it could be something where he needs all that food. Like I honestly didn't think anything.
Also, he's still kind of in his child phase. And the other thing is, you tell your kids not to do things, they don't always
listen.
Heed those warnings. Yeah. Don't eat those cookies. Where'd the cookies go?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I have a kid who just ate like half a thing of Chips Ahoy's the other day, and I'm just like, bro, those were my cookies. So, yeah, I understand. Like I said, I honestly didn't think anything of it. I thought it was kind of funny. Like, you don't even see the mother freak out as well, and she even talks about it. Like, they have to meet the husband to be able to make these eggs. It's not like he eats all the eggs. Like you see him eat 3 eggs in the entire episode, and then I guess technically the 4th at the very end. I would assume if you really know anything about frogs, they lay hundreds of eggs, and a lot of them don't survive the process because they have to lay them at the top of water and they get eaten by other species. So let's calm down, people. It's also a TV show. Like it is. I don't know if they meant to do it for like a humor. Like I said, they could have been something of them showing you like what he's going to continue as he's continuing to grow, and he doesn't understand everything. And yeah, part of it was funny, but again, I think that comes to not being silly. That comes into the relationship with those two of him almost being a father to Baby Yoda. And like you just said, my kids right now over here putting up M&Ms on the screen because he's hungry. Like they're not always going to listen to you. So I'm with you. I didn't have any issues with it. What are you expecting here as we're getting ready to close out the episode 3 moving forward? How many episodes are there this season? Is it 8?
Yeah, still 8.
Okay.
So, yeah, we got to savor them while they last, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I imagine he's going to they'll probably, what they have seemed to tend to do is if you have a quieter episode, then you have one where they're going to move the ball forward. We know at some point he's going to hook back up with Grief Karga and Cara Dune. At some point he's going to start meeting some other Jedi. I think we're probably going to see some focus. I'm curious. Hopefully they make it to the planet they were targeting, you know, because the whole reason they set out on that journey was because supposedly there are going to be other Mandalorians there. That is one thing, if I was going to be critical, I don't understand exactly why he thinks he needs to find other Mandalorians to figure out where he's going or exactly how that's going to help him. But maybe we'll get to see a team up and something like that. But I think he'll get a clue in this next episode.
Well, I think from what he's been saying, if I can remember correctly from the first episode, because I watched it twice. I've watched it once by myself because I didn't realize my wife wanted to watch it, and then she watched it again. And he does reference in there that he feels like they're going to be able to point him to where the Jedi are because he has no idea. And that's the one thing we have to remember. Like, nobody really knows of the Jedi at this point because the only one we know of at the time at this point in the universe is Luke Skywalker.
Which really might be one of the reasons we end up seeing Boba Fett, because if you were trying to figure out why would Boba Fett matter, there would be somebody that would be super familiar with what's left of Jedi. And obviously what's going to be interesting too is if he's going to meet these Jedi that we saw in the Clone Wars that we never saw in the original trilogy, there's going to be an implication that, hey, maybe Luke wasn't the last one out there. Maybe Obi-Wan and Yoda weren't the last ones out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes to, I mean, again, I know when Disney bought Star Wars, there was a lot of talk that they were going to not go into any of the stuff that's come out of it, like the book series and everything, because in the books, that's what they talk about, that some of the Jedi did not die at Order 66, and they've been living on the Outer Rims, which we now know is where he's at the moment with the way the X-Wings came in and kind of were like, hey, we're patrolling the Outer Rims. So maybe some of those didn't die. I'd be interested to see who they bring back. I mean, that would be kind of cool. We've seen even in the latest 3 episodes that there's more people who are, I forgot what the word that they used is, force sensitive. Yeah, force sensitive than we thought. Obviously, you get a person like Rey, who is one of Palpatine's kids. Like, maybe we see how that kind of made its way into the world as well. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they could go with it, and I like it because they're not held to anything, if that makes sense. They can kind of do whatever, because like you said, we were never actually showed that Boba Fett died. We just know that he fell into the Sarlacc pit, and there's a lot of people for a long time that have talked about, well, he could have survived it. So now, well, I guess we'll get to find out if he actually did. I would think that he had to have, because I don't know how he would have gotten the armor out. That's the one thing. So.
And so at this point in time, I get what you're saying, that could be just another clone. I think I'd be more disappointed if that turned out not to be Boba Fett than if it is him.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I can't wait. I think we'll probably keep doing this every Thursday since there's really not going to be a lot really to talk about Thursdays, especially with us getting toward the end of the season. So I'll definitely be watching it Friday night. Obviously, there's been a couple of you who sat in here the whole time, so I hope you guys enjoyed the Mandalorian talk there. We will be back tomorrow with Dennis with us as usual. We will recap the Thursday Night Football game, which hopefully will be a good one, and we will preview the entire Week 10 slate and help you hopefully get a win in your league. As this is kind of it. If you still technically have a shot if you're 3-6, but if you lose this week, you are done. So, and I will mention, because we brought this up a lot actually. If you guys are falling out of it, you guys can tune into the Debbie debate on Wednesday nights, or you can download it on Apple. We did a lot of talking about some of the prospects moving forward. We'll continue to do that. And we'll have a bunch of stuff coming out on Dynasty Nerds too, which obviously me and Matt both write for as well. Continuing that if you are like out of it in a couple of leagues and you want to start looking toward the future. So
yeah, let's just hope some of these college games actually get played.
I know. It's not looking pretty right now. Everything around the country is not looking pretty, unfortunately, at the moment. But
yeah,
at least
stay
we have
safe
football
out there,
tonight.
people.
Yeah. We have football tonight and Mandalorian tomorrow, so nothing should ruin our weekends, at least with that. So me and Matt will be back tomorrow with Dennis. Everybody enjoy the game tonight. We will talk to you.